In fact, mammals that are aquatically adapted develop the ability to hold their breath for a long time. Actually, they're not holding their breath in the way that we hold our breath. Seals and dolphins and similar animals, they can store a lot of oxygen in their blood. They don't have to hold a lot of air in their lungs. But humans, for example, when you take a deep breath and hold it, the reason why you take a deep breath is because you're surviving off the oxygen in the air in your lungs. Try this experiment. Exhale as much as you can and then hold your breath. You last for seconds. You can't do it because we don't have enough oxygen in our blood. We need to continue to exchange it with the air in our lungs. In fact, when you take a deep breath and then you're gasping for air, that's because of buildup of CO2, not because of lack of oxygen, because you're exchanging it with the air in your lungs. But exhale and do it. Now you run out of oxygen very, very quickly. So the bottom line of all that is we don't have the same adaptations to deep diving that aquatic mammals have.
Although, Steve, if you do deep breathing exercises before you hold your breath, you can extend your stay under the water a bit, right?
A bit, but that's because you're getting rid of some of the CO2.
And isn't it also because you fill the little tiny things in your lungs? What are those called?
The alveoli?
The alveoli.
Copula.
The air sacs, basically. So, the more air you get in there, the better you'll be. The more air you'll have to exchange oxygen with the blood, and you'll be able to go a little bit longer.
So it's not that the deep breathing ups the oxygen in your blood a little. It's getting rid of the CO2. Is that what you're saying?
Right. It's getting rid of CO2.
Oh, all right. That proves your point. Then it's
exactly.
different. It's different than the mammal fish.
Right. Yeah, and like another adaptation of the hairless aquatic mammals is in their skin. The keratin in the skin layer is really flattened and smooth, and also is more watertight. But humans don't have. We have more of the flaky keratin on our skin, so it's not smooth, and we get waterlogged. Our skin's not adapted to being in the water.
Steve, what about polar bears?
That's a good one.
That they have hair.
Well, yeah, they're semi-aquatic. They still have hair. But if you think about it, like otters are a great example. They're more aquatically adapted than the aquatic ape theory says that our alleged aquatic ancestors were. They still have.
And they all have barbershop mustaches. I mean, what's with that?
They're adorable.
Is there anything in the fossil record to indicate that we derived from?
Yeah, that's another big thing, is that there really aren't any fossils to suggest that there was ever an aquatic ape. And I think that they've tried to explain that by saying that those fossils would be buried somewhere at the bottom of the ocean or something like that. But it doesn't quite hold up, right?
One piece of evidence from the fossil record is that creatures that live on the shore or in the shallows, like they're saying we did, they actually are much more greatly represented in the fossil record than creatures that live on dry land, right? So you're more likely to fossilize, to leave representations behind. The number of human fossils from this period of time is more consistent with a terrestrial lifestyle than an aquatic lifestyle. That's a matter of statistics. That's kind of a soft argument, but for what it's worth, it does favor the more of a terrestrial history for our ancestors. Now, Morgan and others have made a lot of play over the fact that if you look at the microfossils found with human fossils, that it's not consistent with life on the savanna. And this is another way in which they just misrepresent the definitions and facts and create straw men, is that Morgan is saying that the straw man argument there is that the alternate hypothesis is that humans evolved on the savanna, which she narrowly defines as just the grassland. But in fact, that's never been what paleontologists believe. We lived in an environment that included grasslands, but also wooded areas and ground cover and trees, and the kind of varied environment that you have in the transition between forests and savanna in Africa, which also probably includes some exposure to water as well. I mean, no one's saying that we have no adaptation to water or that it didn't play a role at all, just that it wasn't dominant, that it wasn't, we weren't aquatic, as it were. So she really creates a straw man to make those arguments. Again, every single argument put forward by the aquatic ape theory about like the fact that humans have subcutaneous fat and that's it. She says that's an aquatic adaptation, not seen in any other primates or mammals. It's just factually incorrect. The subcutaneous fat is actually more for storing calories and for secondary sexual characteristics, not for insulation, as the aquatic ape theory assumes.
Could you describe some of these secondary sexual...
You know what? Why don't you go back to the first segment where we talked about boobies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue tits. Come
Blue
on,
tits.
Blue tits. Here we go.
I'm sorry, tits.
Right. So, and also, there's studies that if you keep a monkey in captivity and you overfeed it, they get fat
Birds.
just like people do.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're no different than monkeys because we're
We
primates.
are monkeys.
Because we're primates. Yeah. So
You're a monkey.
But the point is, we're no different than the rest of the primates when it comes to our subcutaneous fat. It's just that we live a sedentary lifestyle.
And plus, we have Twinkies. They don't.
Yeah, exactly. We have. If you feed monkeys Twinkies, they get fat.
Enough about your
Monkey,
Twinkies.
Twinkie.
God.
Hey.
Before we move on to another topic, I have one final point to make on this. Do you all say aquatic?
Yes, aquatic. Why you say aquatic?
It's aquatic.
Yeah, it's aquatic.
Aquatic
you have a
is
funny accent.
Rebecca.
That's all.
Real
I just thought
aquatic.
Listen.
it makes me chuckle every time you say it. Aquatic.
Rebecca
You sound like a
from
duck.
New Jersey, moved to Boston. You're so
It
New
is.
England, it's ridiculous.
Aquatic.
Who are you correcting?
Aquatic actually is Boston.
Aquatic. I just think it's
Aquatic.
funny. That's all.
Pack the aquatic.
I'm not saying
can,
it's
the
wrong.
yet.
I'm just saying it's funny.
There is one more conceptual point I want to raise about the aquatic ape theory. It is an example of extreme environmental determinism. The theory basically is that the environment will completely determine the features that an animal evolves. If you are in the water, then you will develop aquatic features, period. In fact, it ignores the well-established principle of evolutionary biology that animals or creatures can evolve different strategies to adapt to the same environment. Not every animal that adapts to the water or to any particular environment needs to adapt the exact same strategies. And, on the other side, that features can evolve as an adaptation for different purposes. You can develop subcutaneous fat in one animal for insulation, in another for calorie storage, and another for secondary sexual characteristics, and some other animal may find yet some other purpose for subcutaneous fat. So the modern view of evolution just conceptually is not in accordance with this extreme environmental determinism of the aquatic ape theory. I guess the answer to your question, Corey, is that yes, it is. It's kind of a fun pseudoscience, and it's great. It really is a great test case in how to distinguish true science and the way real science operates versus, again, the cheap imitation.
It's fun for us, but anthropologists are tearing their hair out right now.
I know.
Oh, hairless. I get it.